Shalom, Yasharallah. This your brother Dawada from GMS St. Petersburg, Florida, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, or HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you pushing this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. All right, so I'm coming back at you right now with pretty much as an update with this here Venezuela thing. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's been going on over the last couple of days, and you know, it seems like every time you look into it and things are starting to change, and you have different stories that's going on. All right, you have the story that's being touted on the mainstream media. You know, Nicolas Maduro is persecuting his people. Long story short, you know, and all these different things that's going on. All right. And then you have to look a lot harder a lot harder and deeper for like to find a lot of this here truth. All right. Now, as far as what was it, last Saturday, right? On last Saturday, let me backtrack a little bit. All right. So here's a quick little update on this whole Venezuela thing. All right. So, and if you don't know, and this is for one of my subscribers who asked about, they wanted me to go into Venezuela, and I referred them to one of my updates on Venezuela. So I'll kind of go back into it again. All right, just a short overlook at what's been going on over there. All right, and they have multiple stories and for multiple reasons. All right, but nevertheless, you have Venezuela, right? Now, back in the days, you had basically, long story short, you know how America has their puppet governments, right? America will go and set up a puppet government into a nation, right? And then they control the resources. All right, so let me grab a scripture because this is kind of going into that. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 2, verse 8. It says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thy inheritance and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession. All right. Now, one day, Lord willing, I'll do a lesson on this. All right. The number one resource on the planet Earth is human resources. All right. These elites, they don't want gold. They don't want diamonds. They don't want oil. They want your ass. All right. Because with you'll go and get them all the gold, diamonds, and all the stuff that you want. All right. So it's about the resources. Right. So this is what America does. America goes into these countries, and instead of they have to go over there and take over these countries, and then they have to control all these things. No, they go over there and they install a puppet government. The puppet government winds up siphoning the money onto the American government or the resources. All right. And this is how they wind up stealing all these things. All right. They basically reap all the benefits, but don't have to take care of none of the consequences. You know, it's like, well, we don't own it. You know, it's like having your homeboy got a car, right? But you ain't got a car. Your homeboy got the car payment, the insurance payment, got all the repairs and everything like that. You not responsible for none of that. But yet and still, anytime you need to go somewhere, you use your partner car. You see what I'm saying? But it's just like your car. So there's no real difference between, as far as the usage of the car. You use the car just as if it's your car. It's you and your roommate. Anytime you need to leave, you don't even ask. You just go grab the keys and get in the car. You see what I'm saying? You reaping the benefits of the car, but you're not responsible for any of the things dealing with the car, like the upkeep of the car and gas, insurance, car payments, or whatnot. You see, same with America. They're just like, you know what? You can own the car. You know what I'm saying? You can be in control of all this and have to take care of all the problems, but we're going to be reaping all the benefits from it. All right. And we'll take care of you in a way. All right. So this is what happened back in the days in Venezuela. All right. Now, when you look into the statistics and things like that, now, again, they have these different stories that they paint about these leaders that you will hear about here in America versus the real stories. But when you actually look at the statistics and the facts of like just the economics, all you gotta do is just look at the economics. All right. Before Hugo Chavez, right, there was, how do you say, basically a puppet regime in play over there. America had a puppet regime in play. All right. America was pretty much taking all the resources and hoarding it for themselves. All right. And basically the rest of the people down below, they wasn't reaping under the benefits. All right. This is how, let me think of a different country that you can compare it to today. Like I guess you could say Mexico, Puerto Rico, Haiti, any of these places like this. All right. So basically what you have is like you have a really, really poor economy, or the people there are really, really poor. But what, the higher up, they always have elites there. And these elites are what? Basically these Edomites or people, Edomite puppets. You know what I'm saying? Like Barack Obama was for these Edomites. All right. He's just the face of the corporation, but yet and still they're the ones behind the scenes. All right. So nevertheless, going back to Hugo Chavez, this is what was going on that was happening there beforehand. All right. He gets in the office and, he basically starts taking control from basically the American puppet over there. All right. Because the American puppet had control over Venezuela's natural resources, i.e. the oil over there, which Venezuela has the largest deposits of oil. All right. Now, this is not to say a bit tricky, but it's all in a play of words with a lot of these things, because you have like the biggest exporter of oil, the biggest reserve of oil, and the biggest refiner of oil, you know, and that's dealing with I believe Venezuela has the largest deposit in the largest, you know, deposits in the earth, like reserves. You know, they have the largest amount of oil. But I believe Saudi Arabia is like the number one refiner of oil, I believe, and America is like the number one exporter of oil, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But nevertheless, sometimes you'll hear, you know, different people say different things. Well, I thought Saudi Arabia was number one in oil. Well, depending on what you're talking about, what they're doing in oil. All right. Well, I thought America surpassed everybody in this. Well, depends on what you're talking about in oil. You know what I'm saying? But Venezuela, you know, Venezuela has the largest amount of oil, but they're not the ones that's selling the most amount of oil. You see what I'm saying? Or they're not the ones that's refining the most amount of oil. All right. But nevertheless, going back into Venezuela and the resources there, the oil. All right. You had America's puppet government, sucking up all these resources, more or less to say. All right. And siphoning back over here to these people here in America. All right. But nevertheless, you had more or less the Venezuelan people overthrow, their leader, and wind up getting not Maduro, Hugo Chavez in the office, right? Now, around this time, this is why you hear a lot of dirt on Hugo Chavez's name. If you just look him up, they'd be like, oh, he's a bad person, whatever, whatnot. And what he did was, this is a story that they tell you. This is actually kind of true, though. What he did was he basically stole all the, in layman terms, he stole all the resources, and he stole all the money. You know what I'm saying? And he started dishing it back out to who he thought he could dish it out to, and which that sounds like a horrible deal, on face value. And that's how America put it out to you. But what they're not telling you is basically he was stealing the resources back from, this puppet government and giving it back to the Venezuelan people. All right. Like I said, in order to see this, you have to look at the facts of the poverty rate around the time frame before Hugo Chavez, and then look at the poverty rate during Hugo Chavez. You see what I'm saying? It's like, these people was still how you would say so-called poor, and they'd be like, oh, look at the facts under Hugo Chavez. The people was poor. Okay, you might be right, but now look at the same statistics before he was there. It was more than triple that. So like, in fact, you know what I'm saying? If let's just say you was $100 in debt, you know what I'm saying? And then I come along and I give you $50. Well, you still in debt. Yeah, you still broke, but yet you not as far in debt as you was beforehand. Right. So fast forward. You hear about, again, how Hugo Chavez is such a bad person, so on and so forth. America is trying all these, I don't know if they want to openly say they want to try these assassination attempts or coup attempts on him. But nevertheless, fast forward until, a little further up, you got Nicolas Maduro. Now, I believe that there was, if I'm not mistaken, what's that lady's name? I can't think of what her name was. But nevertheless, they had some situations out there with these elections, right? Nevertheless, Nicolas Maduro wound up winning the election because America was trying to install their puppet again. All right. But it didn't work. They wound up getting Nicolas Maduro in there. Now, this is where the controversy with America comes in. Like, oh, well, he's a dictator. He wasn't democratically elected, when the facts are he actually was democratically elected, and then they'll tell you, oh, they had ballot stuff in it, so on and so forth. Like, yo, they don't even have paper ballots over there. They got all digital ballots. You know what I'm saying? So if you're not really looking into these things, you'll just believe the propaganda that's going on. Like I said, Hugo Chavez technically was stealing resources and giving them to who he wanted to. But when you take into account that he was taking all, that movie with Batman and Bane, where he's like, yo, I'm stealing from the rich and I'm giving all the possessions back unto you, Gotham. This is all your shit. They stole all your shit. So I'm stealing it back from them and giving it back unto you. You see what I'm saying? Like, yo, I mean, the actions are, yet you stealing from one person and giving it to who you please, but it depends on the circumstance and the scenario. You just giving back all their stuff back. You see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, this is what started going on. All right. Under, like I said, Hugo Chavez. Now, again, fast forward, you get into these elections with Nicolas Maduro. He's so-called democratically elected. This is where the turmoil start rousing up with America, because he starts doing the same exact thing that, Hugo Chavez was doing. He just pretty much started the same ass shit, Then they put the same name on him once they realized they couldn't buy him out, right? So now this is bringing you up into, I want to say, Barack Obama's time, all right? Because up under him, he was the one, I believe, that actually signed the papers to go to war in Venezuela, who targeted them as a national security threat, which basically signed the documentation saying, all right, we actively today waging war on Venezuela. It just hadn't taken place yet. All right. Then they started with the economic sanctions on them. Then, the economic sanctions, like I said, they had already signed the papers to go to war with Venezuela. We've already been at war with them under the Barack Obama regime. All right. The economic sanctions got them down to being like into a state of chaos. I believe that they've been in this state for a couple years now. I want to say maybe like 3 to 5 years or whatever, whatnot. This has been kind of like going on for a while over there now. All right. Now, the reason it's like that is because, again, the sanctions that started with, I believe, Barack Obama. All right. Or it might have even been at the end of the Bush administration. But nevertheless, around this time, you had these sanctions being put on Venezuela, right, which crippled their economy. Look at Cuba. The same reason why Cuba is like frozen in the 50s and shit. You see what I'm saying? Because we have these sanctions on Cuba from the Cold War and the missile crisis, right? You see what I'm saying? So America did the same thing over to Venezuela recently, and this is starting to cause their economy to, I don't even know if they have a word for it, but hyper collapse. You see what I'm saying? They have what they call like hyperinflation, which really there's no term for what the hell's going on in Venezuela, because I believe they said hyperinflation is like anything over like a 50%, 50% increase in or decrease in the value of your money, which they had like I believe it's like 1,000,000%. All right. They shit is like dropping heavily. And why is this? Because America's putting sanctions on their products and on their goods and certain things like this and that, not to mention the Bank of England holding and hoarding a lot of their gold. All right. Putting all these, economic, pressures onto Venezuela. Right now you have, I can't think of the name of the company. I believe it's called PDVSA or something like that, which is Venezuela's, how do I say, their national state, the oil. Basically, long story short, it's the oil is in Venezuela, right? All the oil in Venezuela is pretty much owned by the state of Venezuela, right? So this is like a governmental entity which goes back in term to feed and pay for the Venezuelan people, more or less to say. This is their economy. This is their biggest thing in their economy, more or less to say. All right. Now, I believe the company's called PDVSA. All right. Now, we're putting these sanctions onto this company and their oil and stuff like that. All right. Now, this country who's getting the majority of its GDP or gross domestic product, its income, on in layman's terms, this is, all that means is how much money that this country is bringing in. When they go to work, by exporting and trading, how much money do you bring in? Right. Now, Venezuela's only job is what? Selling oil. Right. Now, when you have these sanctions on this company, the one main company that sell all the oil to bring in the bread for the family, all right, it's like you getting laid off at your job. You go from working 40 hours a week to now you barely working 10 hours a week. You see what I'm saying? This is what's going on. So now, because you only work 10 hours a week, your family can't eat like y'all was eating beforehand. Y'all got to start eating ramen noodles and shit. You see what I'm saying? It's not because your dad or whoever's working don't want to go to work and only want to work 10 hours a week, or he want to spend his money somewhere else. But no, because somebody else is putting sanctions or barring the strength of his own labor. You see what I'm saying? He can't really sow and reap as he wants. You see what I'm saying? Because why? You put some kind of restrictions on him or sanctions on him. All right. So this is what's going on over in Venezuela, which is causing their economy to collapse. So now when you see, the people out in the street starving and all these different things going on, and they had the food crisis and so on and so forth. Now in comes the story of Nicolas Maduro is starving out his people. Now, this is somewhat some kind of true, right? Nicolas Maduro is somewhat starving out his people. But again, you have to put in context what the hell you talking about, right? Again, going back to what this PDVSA, the state oil, you see what I'm saying? Now, you got to think about this in business. If we can't make no money, let's think about this. PDVSA is basically, let's say I'm the dad and I got some kids and shit, right? My kids is looking at me like, Daddy, why we can't eat? And I'm like, well, because my job then laid me off or whatever, whatnot, which my job being PDVSA, right? The oil. They not letting me work. So this is why I wound up starving my kids out. I'm not starving my kids out. No parent who loses their job and wind up going broke, you wouldn't say that you purposely starving your kids out. No, we just don't have the means to feed nobody. You see what I'm saying? And we have to make sure that we have funding first and foremost for military. You know what I'm saying? We got to pay for the military first and foremost, because if we don't pay for them, we already know they actively talking about regime change in Venezuela. If we ain't got no military, these motherfuckers gonna roll in and kill us, and then they gonna really enslave your ass. So we need to make sure we got a defense before we lose everything. So if you don't put that into context, you would just see like, oh, well, Maduro is, the country of Venezuela is bringing in some money, but all the money is basically going into upholding this government and this coming in to uphold a military. Well, yeah, of course, when you got somebody threatening openly on the news, yeah, we trying to assassinate the Venezuelan president, and then you see him on TV giving a speech, and they over there flying drones and exploding drones around him. Like, yo, dog, you want to pay for protection first and foremost. You be like, yo, forget eating because I can have a house full of food, but if I ain't got no guns to protect myself and somebody run up in my house, it ain't gonna do me no good. You see what I'm saying? At least I'd rather have me some arms and no food because if some shit pop off, I can go run up on somebody and go take me some food as long as I got me this defense. You see what I'm saying? And so, and it's, the only thing that the American news is putting out is, oh, Maduro is taking the proceeds from the state and he's just hoarding it his own self. He's just taking it for his own self. So this is why he's telling you, oh, well, the Bank of England won't release, I believe it was like 550 million or some shit, like a couple $1 trillion worth of gold from the Bank of England to Nicolas Maduro because he's going to steal it for himself, all right, and not give it to the Venezuelan people. And I'm like, nah, bro, like, no, that's kind of what's going on. But again, it's like, yo, man, we got to make sure that we can eat. You see what I'm saying? We got to make sure that this here military stay firm, because if not, we're going to lose everything. You see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, and when you fast forward to further up until today, all right, like I said, they openly, Michael Bolton and them is openly on the news talking about, normally they wouldn't say regime change. They would just be like, oh, like Saddam Hussein, he killing his people. He's a humanitarian aid or whatnot. We got to go over there and help them, But nowadays they openly talking about a coup attempt, regime change, and assassination of political leaders, And that shit there, like, I'm not even into all that playing by these political rules and all this bullshit and all that, because we know this all Esau system and all. But damn, like, how can one person, you see what I'm saying, like actively be like, yo, we finna go over here and assassinate this here other sovereign country's leader? Be like, yo, dog, if that's the case, why don't we just go back to the old time where we have kings and kingdoms and shit like that and just let them thug it out? You'd be like, yo, whoever the strongest, y'all go ahead and survive. If you can subject everybody else, that's on you, bro. Or if y'all want to live in peace, y'all live in peace. But don't sit here and be like, oh, we should all live in peace, but then you actively going over here and deposing these leaders, This is like some crazy shit. But then if somebody try to do that in your country, you be like, oh, we got to go over there and nuke them. Like, who does that, Like any American right now, if any other leader, Kim Jong-un, if Kim Jong-un got on TV talking about he was finna come over here and do some shit to Donald Trump personally, America would be up in arms. They were like, yo, we got to go over there and fuck him up quick. You see what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, y'all can't even say that shit. You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't even make phrases like that. But let alone, this is what they openly saying on our news about other nations' leaders. They actively killed Saddam Hussein, openly, publicly on national media, sodomized Muammar Gaddafi and killed him. You see what I'm saying? Tortured him. That shit was horrible, bruh. You see what I'm saying? But like, man, that's the damn devil. All right, now you got them openly talking about you had them try to overthrow the Erdogan in Turkey on national TV. All right, you see them go over there in Syria, try to overthrow Bashar al-Assad. All right, and just completely fuck up his country for multiple of years. All right, and now you actively seeing them on the newspaper and on the news like, yeah, we finna go over there, we finna fuck up Nicolas Maduro. Yeah, we don't give a damn. And then you actively see him on TV with their damn drones and shit blowing their at, trying to blow him up. Like, yo, dog, like, yo, y'all really got some pride in y'all, But nevertheless, this is where we at today now. All right, now fast forward, you have more elections happen, right? Now, with these elections that you had happen, again, Nicolas Maduro wound up winning the elections. All right. Now you had this guy, Juan Guaido, you know what I'm saying? Juan Guaido, one of they damn puppets that one of my other subscribers, put me up on how to correctly pronounce his name, Guido. You see what I'm saying? One of these damn Edomites. Oh, I ain't gonna say he an Edomite, but nevertheless, he's a puppet of one of these Edomites. I don't know if he is or not, but nevertheless, you have this guy that comes in, all right? And he's, how do I say, he's a puppet for them as well, too. But nevertheless, he didn't even run for damn president, all right? He wasn't even on no ballot or no shit like that. But nevertheless, he was the head of, I can't think of the name of the political party he was the head of. But nevertheless, he didn't even run for president. His name wasn't even on the ballot. Didn't receive no votes at all. After the votes was counted, Nicolas Maduro basically was winning the election. They came out and was like, this guy came out, Juan Guaido then came out and was like, oh yeah, what did he say? He said that I self-proclaim myself as the president. You see what I'm saying? That'd be like the same shit as if you know what I'm saying, you got Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton running for president, you know what I'm saying? And hey, it's like, well, I guess Donald Trump look like he finna win. All of a sudden Kanye West take his black ass up there, be like, yo, I'm gonna let y'all finish, but I'm the president. You see what I'm saying? Like, what kind of bullshit is that? Bro, you wouldn't even, this ain't even got shit to do with you, bro. You know, speaking of the Kanye West doing that shit, the Taylor Swift shit, the Taylor Swift shit, I guess going back to that, it was between Taylor Swift and Beyonce and shit, right? Because he came out talking about Beyonce should have won, right? That shit was between Taylor Swift and Beyonce, but Kanye West stood up and put himself in the middle. But everybody was mad, like, dog, Kanye, why you had to get in the middle of all that shit? That ain't had shit to do with you, cuz that was between them two. You see what I'm saying? You gonna just go in there and put yourself in the middle of it now. What's the white girl name? The white girl couldn't even get her little shine for winning her award. And you mad that she took the shine away from Beyonce. You see what I'm saying? These are the two puppets that's on stage to be getting the shine, but you didn't step in the middle of it, and all everybody else can talk about was Kanye West's black ass. You see what I'm saying? You don't want to intervene in the middle. Same thing here. You got Hillary Clinton running versus Donald Trump. Then you got Kanye West walking in the middle say, oh, I'm the president. Literally, that's what happened over there in Venezuela with this Juan Guaido guy, right? Homeboy just walked up. The shit ain't had nothing to do with him. You see what I'm saying? He wasn't even on the ballot. Homeboy just come in and be like, yo, I'm the president, right? Immediately after that, all right, now, actually before that, him and Vice President Pence was having some meetings. Immediately after that, right, that he declared himself as the interim president, basically, or the president, basically, you know, that Mike Pence immediately got on TV and recognized him as basically the dude is about to be the president, you know, interim president. Basically, it's like, yo, all right, the elections is on this day. You don't start your job onto that day. You know, like when you go get a job, you know, they're like, all right, you got the job. You're going to start in 2 weeks. Basically, you in that waiting period, right? But nevertheless, you know, they acknowledged him as the president. You see what I'm saying? Now, they also went out and urged all of the rest of the world, like all of their allies and so on and so forth, to hurry up and, recognize Juan Guaido as the president. Now, why would you want to rush these people to be like, yo, if it's true, they should be able to acknowledge it on their own. Why you got to tell them to go do this shit? You know what I'm saying? Now, the devil is getting open and like, yo, dog, we see you in the shit that you're doing. You be like, yo, we gonna go over here and steal this country, put up our own guy over there, and we want y'all to go, you know, say y'all going along with the lie. You know, this ain't even got no more secret societies no more. These motherfuckers ain't even saying this shit behind closed doors. They got this shit on the front of the newspapers. Or matter of fact, they on the news. They be on the news like, yo, we urge, you know, the rest of you European nations to swiftly acknowledge this. And if you don't, then you're going to be on the side of Maduro when we come bomb your ass. You see what I'm saying? Like, yo, the devil is got his mask off right now. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, you know, you got well, I'll get to that. That just happened like yesterday, day before yesterday, right? So you got these two factions going back and forth. You know what I'm saying? And now going back to last Saturday, right? Guaido was like, you know, he made a speech saying, basically, you know, we want to know who, he said, basically, we know who the side of the Venezuelan military is on. It's on the side of the people. But, you know, come tomorrow, y'all going to have a chance to show what side that you on. You know, if you're going to support Nicolas Maduro or you're going to support, you know, himself, Juan Guaido, right? Now, this was up on Saturday, and this is when the thing started popping off over there. And slowly but surely, you know, they was, and you could tell by, you know, I did a lot of looking into this shit, and all this shit was popping off. Like I said, there's a lot of fake stories and real stories. And so just to bring all this out, like I said, I got scriptures to go along with this, but nevertheless, giving you this backdrop. But nevertheless, there was let me back up a little bit. There was a plane that landed in Caracas maybe a week and a half ago, right? Or something like that, where, you know, it was said that it came from Russia. And it was heavily secured with, you know, multiple bombers and stuff that escorted it over here. You know, and they were saying that was taking gold from Venezuela. You know, Maduro was taking gold from Venezuela. You know, and again, American media was like, oh, he's stealing gold or whatever, whatnots to Venezuelan people. Like, well, he's the head of Venezuela. He's the one that's in charge of all that shit, for one. Second of all, y'all on the news talking about y'all finna invade his country, either overthrow his government or just kill his ass, assassinate his ass, and then you're gonna steal his shit anyway. You know what I'm saying? They're like, this ain't nothing new. Like, y'all did the exact same shit in Iraq. You know, y'all went and killed Saddam Hussein. You ran up in his palaces and you stole all his gold and you stole all his money. There's videos of it online right now where you see our people inside his palaces and taking pictures and shit on golden toilet stools and tearing up his palace, all kind of shit like that, man. Y'all was just stealing all his shit and y'all hoarded all of that. You know what I'm saying? And same thing with his resources. Y'all gave him a certain amount of time to leave, and y'all wound up stealing all his shit. You did the same thing in Libya. All right, that was one of the reasons you took out Libya, because they started to come up with a new golden currency. All right, because they had so much gold out there. All right, they was like, we're gonna make gold our money. You know what I'm saying? The golden dinar. all right, and get up off of this American petrodollar. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, they went out there and took out over Muammar Gaddafi, you know, and took him out. You see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, you know, these are the ways that they go about these things. All right, but fast forward until today. All right, you have that, like I said, that plane that went over there. So this is one of the signs to let you know that, hey, they're, you know, looking at the things beforehand, looking at Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi. Yo, they about to roll on this area invasion. They about to go in, boots on the ground, and start to shoot up some shit, you know. Now, right after that, you wind up having a lot of troops started coming out here. All right. Now, America's not in there directly, but nevertheless, America, you know, Donald Trump keep talking about putting troops over there, whatever, whatnot. Nothing's off the table, but you know, from just, you know, doing some real deep research on this in just the last couple of days, you know, you have a lot of troops that are amassing in Puerto Rico and heavy artillery in Puerto Rico right now. Like literally, this is popping off like, you know, between last night, today, or yesterday and last night, you know. Then you also have, you know, there's how do I say, Brazil, Colombia. There's troops all around in these areas as well too. And where else were there troops at? I want to say Puerto Rico. But nevertheless, you know, America has a lot of these troops. Not to say a lot of their troops in these countries. What they'll have is a lot of so-called they'll have you know, think of it like the pyramid, right? You know how they had a pyramid scheme, the person at the top control everybody else on down. That's all you really need over there with the American. This is how America's military is so damn big. They only send a certain amount of people over there that control the rest of their military over there. All right. So you have soldiers from Colombia, soldiers from Brazil. You have I'm not sure whose soldiers they are, but they're on the American behalf in Puerto Rico. All right, that's out there. You know, now when you look at all this on the map, this is basically all surrounding Venezuela. All right, preparing for a full-on invasion around it. Venezuela is being surrounded as we speak right now. All right, now there's also what do you call CIA out there as well. All right, actively, and there's some video. I'm not sure how I'm actually upload this without get it taken down. But nevertheless, as you see them planning and plotting a lot of this stuff. All right. Now, just over the last couple nights, you had where let me backtrack. You have the humanitarian aid situation. Another way America's propping up propaganda to just get everybody on their side to wage war against Nicolas Maduro is saying that, again, he's starving out his people. He's cutting off the borders. And yes, he is cutting off the borders because, like I just said, there's a massive amount of troops that surrounding his country, and he know that y'all are about to invade him. Why would he not cut off the borders? But they're saying he's cutting off the borders and not allowing humanitarian aid to come in. All right. And the reason they're saying that is for two reasons. One, he is stopping humanitarian aid from coming in, and I'll get to that. But two, it's they're trying to say that because they have a law, I believe it's the right to it's R2P, right to protect, right? They have the right to protect countries who are pretty much in fucked up situations. You know, their leader is gassing them or killing them. You know, we got the right to protect them. We got the right to just go in there and just go fuck up they leader, you know what I'm saying? And so on and so forth to protect their people, right? So they have to put it in documentation that Maduro is holding back, how do you say, foreign aid or humanitarian aid to the people and starving out his people so that it can be lawfully justified for them to go in there and just basically overthrow him. That's one reason. The second reason, which how you can say Nicolas Maduro is stopping humanitarian aid from coming into the country, is he's stopping humanitarian aid from America from coming in, because just like you've seen in Mexico with Operation Fast and the Furious, you can look this up. Eric Holder and Barack Obama, they was smuggling guns into Mexico, basically arming El Chapo and them cartels out there. This is how you get all this fucking cocaine and shit inside of America, man. They not coming under the fucking the ground in no tunnels and shit and walking across the borders with no cocaine on their back. These motherfuckers is driving big ass semi trucks clear across the border. You know, they're not even being checked. All right, this is a governmental project that they got going on. America's doing this shit. Same reason they don't you think? Look at the opium. That's a huge drug operation. Nobody in no small, nobody, bro, ain't nobody on no small level, smaller than the government. America's government can move that kind of heroin inside of America and not be known about it. God damn it. That shit ain't gonna, that's not gonna work. You see what I'm saying? The same with the shit coming from Mexico. You see what I'm saying? This is all, again, just look at Eric Holder, what he got caught. Look up Fast and the Furious. Eric Holder, Fast and the Furious, Barack Obama. They tell you exactly what was going on. It ties the whole story with El Chapo and all that. That's their puppets. That's what they do. All right. This is the whole trade. All right. The same shit that they got going on. But nevertheless, you have, how do I say, in these countries, you have, well, America is trying to put in, humanitarian aid into Venezuela to the people, so-called. We want to feed the people, give them toothpaste and so on and so forth. Venezuela's like, yo, bro, we got all these commodities over here. They can get that shit. Like, why y'all lying to this shit? You know, we know what y'all sending over here. You sending guns over here. All right. The reason that you sending guns over is for your CIA operatives. And like I did a story on this not too long ago about how America's and other places in the world training up basically terrorists to go over here and overthrow countries. They just don't call them terrorists. They call them, I forgot, you got to look back a couple days, you know, a couple videos ago, and you'll see the video I'm talking about. But nevertheless, this is what America's creating. This is what they doing. They go over here and they stage these coups or these overthrowing a government by sending a couple spies and agents over into these countries. Just like COINTELPRO, it's the same thing. It's just on a larger scale. All right. The white man ain't got no new tricks, man. All his shit is the same old tricks. All right. But nevertheless, he's got these people over in Venezuela, inside of Venezuela, little sleeper cells, you know, and what they're trying to do is get these guns and these arms over there. So these small sleeper cells, once the other agent provocateurs and other people from these other countries can just invade over there, they'll already have the guns on them. You see what I'm saying? Like, literally, you could just start flying regular so-called citizens into Venezuela. They don't need to bring guns with them if the guns are already there. You see what I'm saying? And then they can wage the war. This is how these things are being done. All right. There ain't been no country that, well, we actually did just go over the border in Iraq. I was going to say, like, they're not invading countries like that nowadays, but they just rolling up on their ass. All right. They had to come in like with the terrorist shit. Oh, they came from within, you know, we getting weapons over there by spreading humanitarian aid, just like ISIS. ISIS was armed and backed with all of their shit from America, keep leaving shit over there. That's how they was arming them. You see what I'm saying? So this is what's going on with the CIA right now in Venezuela. They're putting guns and arms inside of Venezuela. All right. Now, when the humanitarian aid came, or started coming, which they still trying to get the shit over there right now as we speak. All right. Now, this started happening, I want to say, either last night or the night before last, where they was trying to get this food over there. All right. And they had this bridge where they're saying Maduro had this bridge closed off, which one of these bridges had been closed off for like 10 years. You know what I'm saying? It's been closed off. And that's one of the nicknames about how they spent so much money on this bridge and never really used this bridge. All right. Another reason, again, Maduro has the borders closed because they about to invade his ass. He don't want all these soldiers running up into his country like that. If he can hold them off at the border, it'd be better off than that. All right. He's trying to maintain his government and basically save his people over there, because America about to go in and ravish all their shit and take all their shit from them. All right. But nevertheless, so you had these clashes on this bridge where, you know, you had, let me backtrack again. You got Richard Branson, the dude from Virgin Mobile, right? This fucking billionaire dude, right? One of these Edomites. All right. He got Virgin Mobile, Virgin Records, Virgin, all of that shit, right? Homeboy, he's a propaganda dude too. He's stirring up propaganda. They wound up staging 2 concerts, right? These 2 different concerts, and put one out in Colombia and one in Venezuela, right? And they were basically trying to brainwash the people more and more and more to be, brainwash the people to be against Nicolas Maduro. Like, yo, the whole outside of the world is with you people as far as overthrowing Maduro. We want to help y'all, help you get Guido in the office and help y'all prosper and get this evil dictator out of there, you know. And so, like, we're going to get into a gift destroy at the heart, you know what I'm saying? Like, yo, man, this is how they over there fleecing the flock of these people, all right? And getting these people. And now, the reason that this matters, these are our people over there, first and foremost. These are Israelites over there, all right? But nevertheless, going back into how they trying to put them to sleep with these concerts and stuff like that and paint these evil pictures of Nicolas Maduro. These people don't know that America's behind the scenes fucking up their country and things like that. They don't realize that this is what's going on to them. Just like a lot of the people in Cuba don't realize that the reason that they stuck back in the damn 50s is because of the trade embargoes and the sanctions is placed on them by America. You see what I'm saying? They wouldn't know why they so goddamn poor. This is how it is. You see what I'm saying? Or maybe our leaders are like this. All right. But nevertheless, you have Juan Guaido trying to get this food and these supplies and shit over into Venezuela, right? During the midst of this here concert and stuff, there's a bridge out there, right? And they trying to get across this here bridge, and they try multiple times to get across the bridge, and they're reporting. Now, see, these are some of the stories you're going to hear in the news, but these stories are not true. Well, it's not true in the way that they're portraying them. There's, protests going on the bridge, and Maduro is, got his troops out there, whatever, whatnot, and the police and the National Guard throwing rocks and Molotov cocktails at the foreign aid coming in, the humanitarian aid, and they blocked off the road, and they're burning up one of the foreign aid trucks and so on and so forth, and throwing Molotov cocktails. Well, as like I said, looking into deep research, Yo, they actually had video a couple days right before of the CIA out there actually staging all of this shit. You know, it's not to say staging it as far as it's something so-called fake or not, but preparing for all these attacks, you know, and they talking about they're gonna go under the bridge and do so on and so forth. Now, mind you, Maduro and them was out there with their military. They had like guns and shit and so on and so forth. But like, why the hell they throwing rocks? You see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, these are these Asian provocateurs going out there to cause uprisings and stir up contention, just like you see in these riots that we have here in America. All right, you don't be seeing the main so-called protesters actually the ones causing all the problems. There'd be a couple Asian provocateurs that'll go in there and get people riled up so that the whole government can come down on you to justify the means of bringing down the hammer. All right. So on this day of the bridge, right now you had, man, I'm gonna have to show some video on this, but nevertheless, you have a lot of this shit going on, right? They're over here, how do I say, going back and forth with clashes and so on and so forth. One of these trucks gets set on fire. The aid gets rerouted and turned back. Right now, I believe either the same day or the next day, Guaido comes back out there with, trying to come back out there with the food and so on and so forth, saying, oh, I'm on here. They're not going to do so and so to me, whatever, whatnot. And again, he was turning around at the border. All right. So now this is the build up to the big bang that's coming over there in Venezuela. All right. They're going to keep saying, look, we keep trying to bring in food. We keep trying to do this. We keep trying to do that. Maduro's trying to be a big tough guy and keeping us out. They're bombing their own or throwing rocks and Molotov cocktails at their own people and so on and so forth, and running people over and so on and so forth, you know, and that's another thing, man. There's a video of, man, there's a video of one of these big ass like military trucks, like one of them big ass SWAT trucks just plowing through a crowd of people on this bridge. All right, but again, you can't just, this is what Maduro's doing. This is the plan and the plot to make his people to make him look so bad to his people. All right, so America is justified of going in there and waging war on them. All right. So now that brings us basically up into this time and this hour now, all right, of what's going on over there, right? These are all the things that's going on. But again, at the end of the day, you know, and one of the main reasons that they need, you know, to bring it all full circle, one of the reasons that they need Venezuela, why Venezuela is so important, you have to look at the bigger picture, all right? We're on the road to World War III. World War III. Now, let's take, you know, the scriptures, the Most High, let's take all that out of it for a second, right? Now, in World War III, you have this thing that's going on like a transition of power, right? America realizes that it's about to, the whole world realized that America is about to be removed out of its number one seat, all right? And it's going to be shuffled around. They don't know where they're going to fall at. The rest of the world, i.e. being China, Russia, and those powers over there, they're setting up a new system to play without America, right? You have a replacement of the petro yuan, which is your regular dollar bills in your wallet, which is the currency that you need to do anything with oil, whether it's buy, sell, trade, transport, or refine oil. You need American dollars to do so, which makes America super rich, because you got to get America's dollar for it, and every time you get America's dollar, you got to wind up paying America for it. You see what I'm saying? But nevertheless, and they use that through trade to get free and cheap trade. All right, but nevertheless, you see also a lot of these other systems being taken away, and a replacement, you know, is being made with these other superpowers that cut America out. Now, in the wage of World War III, you have to understand, and especially with this petrodollar being removed from America, all right? Now, America has, how do I say, one of the biggest military. Actually, America itself does not have one of the biggest militaries. Well, it does, actually. It's probably like number 3 or number 4 with just America's military, right? Its whole military, right? It's probably about, I want to say, 1 million strong. America maybe have a 1 million man army, or right under a 1 million man army, right? Actually, it has about right under a 1 million man army, and then it also has like maybe 700,000 to 800,000 in what you call it, the National Guard or some shit like that. One of them, right? So they basically got like almost a 2 million man army. But when you add that to you know, they also give a percentage of their troops out to NATO, right? They have a small percentage of their own troops that they push out to NATO. Now, NATO, right? NATO has the military of NATO has I believe 1 to 2 million troops. I believe altogether it's like 1 or 2 million troops. All right. Now, all the different countries that's a part of NATO, they still have their own military and shit. You see what I'm saying? Their military, they don't have their whole military, just like America. Our whole military is not a part of NATO. We only got like a small percentage. Let's say if our military was 100 soldiers, we only got 10 soldiers that's in NATO, where the other 90 is part of the American military. These are, not to say two separate entities, but they are two separate entities. All right. But nevertheless, you see what I'm saying? This is a massive amount of troops. All right. So if America got 2 million of their own. NATO is another 2 million. That's like 4 million people right there, plus all these other soldiers in all these other NATO countries, right? Now, this is a lot of equipment. Now, America has a lot of equipment where it's like they have like thousands of tens of thousands of like jets, tanks, so on and so forth, you know. Now, all of this stuff needs, like, no matter how big of a military that you have, it will do you no good if you don't have fuel. Put it that way, if you just don't have fuel, whether, you know, you got all these tanks and planes and ships and all that, if you can't gas that shit up, you ain't going nowhere. Same with the fuel for the human beings. You got all these soldiers. It don't mean nothing if you can't feed these people. You see what I'm saying? Or pay these people. You see what I'm saying? That's the case why Nicolas Maduro is trying to make sure he keep his military funded, because if he can't feed or pay his military, he ain't got no protection. But nevertheless, when America needs to be able to move its massive military, and then also with NATO and its massive military, you know, because America uses not only, primarily America uses NATO's military to wage a lot of its wars. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if America's at war. I don't think America's at war with any country right now. But nevertheless, with NATO, America's fucking up a lot of shit. But nevertheless, in order to move all these troops and have all these different bases around the world, you see what I'm saying? America and all of its bases around the world, and then NATO and all of its bases around the world. I keep putting these two out as two separate entities, because when you combine these numbers, this is a huge amount of equipment that you have to fuel up. Now, keep that in mind, where we about to go to World War III, and the shit that how we moving right now, we're not gonna be able to move that same way. We're not gonna be able to trade, especially with World War III happening over there in the Middle East. Let's just say we need to get some oil or backup oil from Saudi Arabia or whatever, whatnot, or who knows what's going on. It might be harder for us to get it from over here. It might be easier for us to get it from over here. And also in the default of petrodollar, if we can sit here and again, they don't need to own all the oil, right? They just need to own, you know, human resource to be able to get the oil, or in the same sense, a tool to be able to get it. So we don't need to have the petrodollar no more, as long at in this point, because now all we need is the biggest reserves of it. We need the most amount of oil now. You see what I'm saying? Putting themselves back in the game, in the selling game, but then also in order to fuel their military, because they have this massive military that they know they're about to go into World War III with. They're gonna need this fuel for some longevity in the fight, to be able to endure this fight for a long and sustainable battle. All right, they're gonna need to be able to keep refueling from this side of the globe to go to that side of the globe. All right, and how much better is that for you to have the world's largest oil reserve right here, pretty much in your backyard, when you about to be fighting on the whole other side of the globe? All right, so this is why that Venezuelan oil is so important at this here point in time, right here, right now, why they are so dead set on getting this here oil, and why it's such a big deal. All right, it's all about that oil, because America knows it's got a short time and it's need to secure its resources. Like they say, hey, don't go to war. Hey man, just like the scripture say, don't build a house unless you count the cost first. All right, the same shit can be applied, and that's the real deal right there. What kind of man build a house at least he count the cost first? You see what I'm saying? Don't go to war unless you got your money right, because your ass be done went out there to fight this here war, and you got 10,000 troops, not knowing this motherfucker got 100,000 troops. Or y'all got the same amount of troops, but what, he got enough ammo to sustain a fight for 10 years. You can only sustain a fight for 10 minutes. You see what I'm saying? Like, oh shit, we done lost because we only got 10 minutes worth of ammo. They got 10 years worth of ammo. You see what I'm saying? So America right now is tallying up that count. All right. And so now, as you see, they as you see, they're trying to get all their ducks in the line right now. They're trying to prepare themselves for war. All right. You see them pulling from the INF treaty. All right, the mid-range nuclear ballistic missile treaty. You see what I'm saying? For what? So they can have this arms race going on. You see them going over there trying to hoard all the oil out of Venezuela swiftly, quickly. They're not even done with Syria yet. And they're like, you know what? We finna start a whole nother war, trying to finish that shit before we can even fully pull up out of Syria. You see what I'm saying? That's how, we know that they know that they need that oil ASAP to get them into this here picture. All right. But hey, like I said, let's talk about this carnally and take the Most High up out of it. Now let's bring the Most High back into this. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey man, you ain't doing nothing but getting caught in your own trick bag, man. Your ass is grass, man, because those are the Lord's people over there you fucking up, all right? And the Lord is about to come back and avenge all of the blood of his people upon these damn Edomites, all right? Now I know I done went way too long on just this here video along, just bringing back the backstory of this. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and cut this here video off, and I'll come back with just the scriptures on the next video, all right? Until next time, I say stay strong and shalom.